We live every day amidst countless sounds. The alarm that wakes us in the morning. The noise of the bustling city. The endless flood of information and people's voices. And we, too, speak out to others or to the world several times a day. But among all this clamor, perhaps the most important question is the quiet, intimate one we ask ourselves. A question directed inward. That may be the true starting point of life. 500 years ago, in an isolated chateau in France during an age of turmoil and upheaval, there was a man who distanced himself from the noisy cries of the world, and instead posed deep questions to himself. He had witnessed the wounds of brutal wars firsthand, and he was struck by the sudden death of his dearest friend, one he thought he would share his whole life with. Falling into profound grief, giving up the government post he had ambitiously attained in his youth, he shut himself away in the quiet tower library of the chateau where he was born, beginning an honest dialogue with himself through writing. He sought to see the world not through society's standards, but solely through his own eyes, and to understand himself. His name was Michel de Montaigne, a pioneer who first established the genre we now call the essay, and a philosopher of self-reflection whose insights transcend time to speak deeply to modern readers. He explored the unknown continent called me, asking fundamental questions about how we humans ought to live. Today, we will follow the unique life journey of Michel de Montaigne, and face together his wisdom and insights in response to the question, how should we live? May his quiet voice reach your innermost self. In 1533, in Périgord, Aquitaine, in southwestern France, Michel de Montaigne was born into a distinguished noble family. His father devoted extraordinary passion to his son's education, and from an early age, Montaigne learned Latin as if it were his native tongue, immersing himself deeply in ancient philosophy and literature. Thanks to this, he built scholarly refinement early on, absorbed broad knowledge, and displayed remarkable intelligence. In his youth, working as a magistrate in Paris, he walked the path of social success, and he likely dreamed, like many nobles, of a glamorous and prosperous life. But in the prime of his life, in his mid-30s, a shocking event shook him to his core. His closest friend and soulmate, Étienne de la Boétie, died suddenly. In a short span of time, they had shared an unbelievably deep friendship, and profoundly influenced each other intellectually. La Boétie's death was more than the loss of a friend. It brought Montaigne to a fundamental doubt about the meaning and direction of life. In the depths of grief and loss, he could no longer find meaning in social life. Ultimately, he resigned from all public office and returned to the castle where he was born. completely distancing himself from the noise of the world. He secluded himself in his library at the highest tower of the castle. For Montaigne, it was not just a physical space, but a sanctuary and a passage into his inner world. Surrounded by books and focused solely on himself, he began a quiet life of self-reflection, during which he started writing his masterpiece essays. Through this solitary time, he sought to see the world and understand himself, not by society's standards, but through his own eyes. At the starting point of this grand journey of self-exploration, he said this: "I have made myself a subject of observation. Nothing is more interesting than what happens within me." Montaigne's philosophy was not, like the prevailing moral philosophy or religious doctrines of the time, an attempt to teach others or to advocate a specific moral ideal. Rather than seeking profound truths, he revealed his deeply personal experiences, thoughts, and inner feelings as they were. He laid bare his thoughts and emotions, hopes and fears, joys and sorrows, without embellishment, forcing us to confront the inner landscapes we humans so often ignore. His writing acted like a mirror, enabling readers to reflect upon themselves. Through exploring himself, he sought to discover universal human truths. In his quiet library, Montaigne relentlessly asked himself fundamental questions. Who am I? How am I living right now? What do I believe, and what do I doubt? For him, life was not a journey to pursue external success, but a ceaseless inner voyage to explore and understand himself. Through his writing, he posed the same questions to his readers, urging them to investigate themselves. Montaigne continually pointed out, with sharp insight, how ignorant and mistaken we are about ourselves. Most of us live conscious of others' eyes, adjusting our actions to meet social norms or others' expectations. We strive for others' approval and recognition, yet are most insensitive to the voice within. We thirst for external knowledge and information but remain shockingly indifferent to our own hearts, thoughts, and desires. This is why he emphasized that true wisdom begins not from the outside, but from honestly looking within. Rather than seeking perfection, Montaigne did not hesitate to acknowledge and accept human weakness, desire, and contradictory nature as they were. He continually exposed his own flaws and limitations in his writings. As his famous words say, "I am certain of nothing." He let go of the effort to find absolute truth or certainty. For him, life was not a journey to find the right answer, but a process of understanding his imperfect self and accepting contradictory emotions. This attitude is precisely why he is loved across centuries. He helped us realize that all the anguish, and torment we face as human beings are entirely natural. In his essays, Montaigne spoke surprisingly often about death. It was not merely because he lived with a frail body. For him, death was not the opposite end of life, but a necessary subject of reflection. To understand and love life more deeply. He said, to reflect on death is to love life more deeply. This contains the profound insight that only by facing death, without turning away, can one grasp the true value of life. The 16th century France in which Montaigne lived was an era of turmoil, plagued by religious wars and epidemics such as the plague, which claimed countless lives. He witnessed many deaths around him, and suffered the loss of close relatives and friends multiple times. These experiences led him to deep contemplation of death. He thought, why do we fear death so much? If it will inevitably come to everyone someday, is it not a natural part of life? Death is not the end of life but merely one process that completes it. For Montaigne, death was no longer an object of fear. Rather, it became the clearest mirror that reflected life and the strongest motivation to live the present fully. If today were my last day, how would I live right now? This was a question Montaigne asked himself constantly. And it is not only valid for Montaigne 500 years ago. It still resonates deeply with us today. Living in a complex and uncertain age. By thinking about death, we can value the present more and realize what truly matters. The wisdom of accepting death, paradoxically, makes every moment of life all the more fulfilling. In the later years of his life, Montaigne reached one certainty: that friendship with oneself is as important as, if not far more important than, relationships with others. As social beings, we live within relationships. With friends, family, colleagues. All of these relationships enrich life. But Montaigne emphasized that if you are not at peace with yourself, you will never find true peace in any relationship in the world. He said, if you are not at peace with yourself, you will not be at peace with anyone. This contains the profound truth that every relationship begins with your relationship with yourself. Montaigne valued most not socializing or engaging in external activities, but sitting alone in his library and conversing with himself. For him, that time was not merely enduring solitude, but truly understanding and growing himself. Through self-dialogue, he organized his thoughts and emotions, calmed his inner chaos, and gradually gained a stronger inner peace. He believed that only when freed from external views and standards and focused solely on oneself, does the true self emerge and grow. Montaigne poses this question to us: how close are you to yourself? This is not simply a tool for self-improvement. It is the first step toward genuine self-understanding, and the most important starting point for finding inner peace. Becoming close to yourself means accepting and acknowledging not only your strengths, but also your flaws and weaknesses as they are. When we love and respect ourselves, we can finally build genuine connections with others. Montaigne's message strongly urges us, living in a busy modern society, to take time for ourselves and listen to our inner voice. Through his long journey of self-reflection, Montaigne ultimately reached one realization: the truth that human beings are inherently imperfect. In life, we all make mistakes, fall, and sometimes even hate ourselves. We strive for perfection, but that perfection is nothing more than an unattainable ideal. Montaigne, however, said that true beauty and light in life exist precisely within that imperfection. The moment we accept and embrace our imperfections as they are, life becomes softer and deeper. He followed no authority or ideology blindly. Instead, he listened only to the truths gained through his own experiences and reflections. Through his writings, Montaigne showed us that all the anguish and torment we experience as human beings are completely natural, and that life as imperfect beings is all the richer and more beautiful for it. He said this: "We are all broken beings, but it is through those cracks that light enters." A truly wise person is one who can understand and forgive themselves. Montaigne did not try to teach the world grand truths. Instead, he revealed himself wholly: his thoughts, emotions, fears, and contradictions without filter, allowing readers to look inward and explore themselves. Understanding oneself completely and, from there, seeing life anew. This is precisely why Montaigne's philosophy still resonates deeply with us 500 years later, serving as a guide for life. His essays are not merely writings, but companions on the journey to finding oneself. We are always inclined to direct our questions outward, toward the world, seeking answers there. But Michel de Montaigne quietly whispers, the most important and fundamental questions must always be directed toward ourselves. To understand oneself, that is life. His voice transcends time, inviting us to deep self-reflection. Today, what question would you like to ask yourself? Through Montaigne's wisdom, why not pause for a moment? And in your own quiet study, listen closely to the voice within. I hope this video has brought a small resonance to your life.